What's something that you want to say to those who are coming out to support you or those who aren't coming out to support you today?
I want them to get the facts. Cut through all the nonsense and you know what I call it, fake news. I think people should do their research before they judge. I've always given back to my community. I always done what's right for my community. And I think today the people will stand with their mayor, Tiffany Henyard. So I'm excited to just wait till the finale this evening. And I'll say that, yeah. So,
did you vote or?
No, not yet.
You didn't vote early?
No.
So are you getting ready?
Imagine a political leader who built their entire career around their image. A leader who was brash, confident, and used their persona as much as their policies to push themselves into the spotlight. For Tiffany Henyard, the city girl mayor of Dalton, this seemed to work, at least for a while. Henyard had a larger-than-life persona, one that she crafted and nurtured through extravagant public appearances and bold moves. She was more than just a mayor, she was a figurehead for the city's future, a beacon of hope for some, and a symbol of change for others. But as the saying goes, what goes up must come down. Tiffany Henyard's political career, which seemed unstoppable at first, took a dramatic turn. Her self-proclaimed title as the city girl mayor became the root of her undoing, and by the end of her tenure, she found herself facing the harshest of defeats. After confidently predicting a landslide victory in her re-election campaign, Henyard didn't just lose, she was crushed. With only 12% of the vote, Henyard's political reign came to an end. In today's video, we will explore how Tiffany Henyard's persona and leadership style ultimately led to her downfall. From her rise to power, her self-destructive decisions, and the political chaos she left behind, let's break down the story of Tiffany Henyard's fall from grace. Tiffany Henyard wasn't just any politician, she was a brand. From the moment she entered the political spotlight, Henyard seemed more like a reality TV star than a local leader. She didn't just come to Dalton to serve. She came to dominate the media landscape, building her image as the city girl mayor. Henyard's persona was built on the idea of being bold, unapologetic, and brash. She didn't want to be seen as just a run-of-the-mill politician. She wanted to be a symbol of change, a powerful figure who represented the future. She made sure her public appearances were filled with energy, charisma, and style. Henyard's supporters loved her boldness and her no-nonsense attitude, while her critics viewed her as someone more interested in making headlines than solving the city's real problems. But regardless of opinions, one thing was clear: Henyard had become a household name. Her time in office was initially marked by self-promotion and the cultivation of her public persona. Rather than focusing solely on policy changes, Henyard relied heavily on cultivating a connection with the public through her image. And the media ate it up. Henyard seemed to understand that in the age of social media, appearances mattered more than ever. But her image alone was not enough to mask the growing cracks in her leadership. She was constantly in the media, often accompanied by the flashing lights of cameras, showing off extravagant events and personal appearances. It was all part of Henyard's city girl persona. She wasn't just any leader. She was a force to be reckoned with, a larger-than-life figure. But as we know, in the world of politics, charisma and style can only take you so far. While Henyard's public persona continued to grow, behind the scenes, things began to unravel. As her popularity soared, so did the controversies surrounding her actions. The more she spent, the more the media and residents of Dalton began to question how she was managing the public's money. Henyard's extravagant lifestyle became the subject of heated debate, especially when reports surfaced about her lavish spending habits. At the center of the controversy were accusations that Henyard was misusing taxpayer funds for her own personal gain. She was accused of using city money for trips to places like Las Vegas, paying for expensive hotels, and even using government vehicles for personal use. This was a far cry from the image she had carefully curated of a mayor who was for the people. As the rumors about her lavish spending spread, they caught the attention of the FBI. The investigation focused on her use of public funds, including contracts and services that may have been improperly awarded. Rather than addressing these issues head-on, Henyard doubled down on her defense, claiming that everything was above board. She called the reports fake news and refused to take responsibility for any of the allegations. Her refusal to cooperate with the investigation, coupled with the ongoing scrutiny, caused her support to erode rapidly. What was once a meteoric rise to power began to feel more like a train wreck in slow motion. Instead of focusing on the real issues facing the city, Henyard became more concerned with defending her image, even as the accusations mounted. Henyard's public refusal to acknowledge her failures further alienated her from the public. While she continued to live her extravagant lifestyle, the residents of Dalton were left wondering why their mayor was so focused on promoting herself rather than addressing the challenges facing the city. By the time election season rolled around, Henyard was brimming with confidence. Despite the scandals, despite the FBI investigation, and despite the growing chorus of criticism, she continued to project an image of strength and certainty. She was the city girl mayor, and in her mind, that meant nothing could stop her. Henyard made it clear to her supporters that she was going to win, and win big. In fact, she predicted a landslide victory, believing that the people of Dalton would recognize her contributions and vote her into office for a second term. Her campaign, however, was more about her personal brand than it was about policy. While she continued to talk about the work she had done for Dalton, the majority of her campaign was centered around her public image. Henyard's public appearances and media coverage remained highly polished, but there was no denying that the voters were starting to turn against her. The scandals had taken a toll on her public approval, but she believed that no matter what, her support base would carry her to victory. She was convinced that the people would stand by her despite everything. Henyard spent election season making grandiose claims of what she had accomplished. She was not just a politician, she was a symbol of success, someone who represented the modern, progressive future of Dalton. She spent her time rallying her supporters, promising to continue the work she had started, and pledging to help the city thrive under her leadership. But what Henyard didn't see coming was the shifting sentiment in the city. The people of Dalton had begun to see her for what she truly was, a leader who was more focused on her own ambitions than the well-being of the city. Her self-promotion, lavish spending, and refusal to acknowledge her mistakes had caused many to lose faith in her leadership. When Election Day finally arrived, Tiffany Henyard stood confidently in front of her supporters, certain that she would emerge victorious. She continued to make bold claims, predicting a landslide win, and declaring that her opponents stood no chance. In her mind, the people of Dalton would see through the negativity and scandals and choose to keep her in office. However, things didn't go as Henyard had planned. As the votes were counted, it quickly became clear that the tide was turning against her. Her campaign may have been slick, but the people of Dalton had made their decision. Henyard, despite her bravado, was defeated, handed a crushing blow that would end her political career. Her opponent, Jason House, won with a staggering 87.9% of the vote, leaving Henyard with a mere 12%. Her landslide victory turned into a political annihilation. It wasn't just a loss. It was a clear message from the people that they were done with Henyard's leadership. Jason House's victory was a statement, not just against Henyard, but also against the years of turmoil and mismanagement that had come to define her tenure. The voters had made it clear that they wanted change. They wanted someone who would focus on the real issues, someone who could restore faith in the city's leadership, and bring Dalton back to its roots. In the days following her defeat, Tiffany Henyard's response was nothing short of baffling. Instead of accepting responsibility for the loss, she continued to place the blame elsewhere. She blamed the media for misrepresenting her, the FBI for their investigation, and even her own supporters for abandoning her. Henyard seemed completely unwilling to acknowledge her role in the loss. In one of the most delusional statements following the election, she claimed that despite the results, the people still loved her and wanted her to remain in office. She insisted that the media and political opponents had painted her in a negative light, ignoring all the good she had done for Dalton. Henyard's refusal to take responsibility for her actions or accept the truth of the situation only further cemented the notion that she was out of touch with reality. As if the crushing defeat wasn't enough, Henyard hinted at running for an even bigger office in the future. Despite the fact that she had just lost her re-election bid by an overwhelming margin, she seemed intent on pursuing her political ambitions without acknowledging the root causes of her downfall. This kind of delusion was dangerous, as it showed that Henyard was not ready to accept accountability for her failures. Jason House's victory wasn't just a personal win. It was a victory for the people of Dalton. House's campaign focused on transparency, integrity, and accountability, things Henyard had sorely lacked. House promised to bring Dalton back to its roots and restore faith in the city's leadership. His win marked the beginning of a new political era for the village, one that would hopefully be defined by stability and progress. As House supporters celebrated his victory, there was a collective sense of relief in Dalton. Henyard's political reign, characterized by scandals, mismanagement, and a failure to connect with the people, was over. The future was now in the hands of a new leader who promised to restore integrity to the local government. Tiffany Henyard's political career is a cautionary tale about the dangers of prioritizing image over substance. While Henyard may have built a successful brand and cultivated a loyal following, it wasn't enough to overcome the many scandals and missteps that came to define her tenure. From her lavish spending to her refusal to take responsibility, Henyard's downfall was inevitable. Jason House's victory signals a new chapter for Dalton. The people have spoken, and they've chosen a leader who promises transparency, integrity, and real progress. As for Tiffany Henyard, her time in politics is over. Whether she'll learn from this experience or continue her delusional path is uncertain. But one thing is clear: the city girl mayor is no more.